Welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. I'm thrilled to be joined by speaker, author, consultant, and facilitator David Cutler, who is known for leading immersive innovation games. I've been excited for this conversation, excited to learn what innovation games are. But first, I'd love to get to know the person behind the microphone. David, welcome to the program.
Thanks. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. So David, tell us about your background and how it led to your passion and your expertise in innovation.
Well, my background is actually as a musician. I grew up kind of living two lives, as a classical musician and a jazz musician. And for the classical world, I really learned about attention to detail, the pursuit of excellence, getting stuff done. The jazz world taught me all about finding your own voice, looking at something that has been around before and realizing it in a way that nobody else has. It's about walking that tightrope. So as I've gone on through life, I've been applying those kinds of principles to working with all kinds of organizations when solving all kinds of creative challenges.
Amazing, amazing. So we're going to talk all about the game of innovation, conquer challenges, level up your team, and play to win. David, in the in this amazing read, you don't just talk about innovation. You sort of go into the game of innovation. It's really more than just a book. It's full color and helps groups, businesses, and organizations of all sizes tackle complex challenges of all stripes. And David, I know that speaking of innovation, teamwork is really important, and you've got some fantastic collaborators. You want to give them a shout out?
Absolutely. We worked on this with a team of 4. There is an illustrator named Patty Dobrowolski, who's a quick draw artist. It means a lot of times when we're playing games or working with communities, she will visually capture the essence of what is happening in real time. It's absolutely amazing. The designer is Cara Beoso, who is also, actually, we met originally, she's also a flamenco dancer. And my colleague Lance Leduc was a big contributor to the book, who's also sings comedy songs and does all kinds of crazy things. So we had lots of different backgrounds that we brought into kind of developing this methodology.
Okay, awesome. So let's jump right into it. Every single business, every single organization of all sizes have problems, but you like to sort of transform those problems into an approach. The term game is actually a strategically designed structure. Can you tell us what GAME stands for and what our listeners can expect when they pick up a copy of the Game of Innovation?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I should say I consider any well-designed process to be a game, whether or not it's particularly gamey. You know, you can solve problems even if you don't have dice and concept cards and the likes. Yet I like to use the game concept because it really brings people to this place where they think very creatively and strategically. GAME is an acronym. It stands for Guidelines, Arena, Materials, and Experience. So very quickly, guidelines is the parameters of the game. What's the most important problem you're trying to solve? What are the constraints? What's the criteria? What constitutes success? Arena is about what do you have to work with, the conditions of play, the puzzlers, the people who are solving the problem, the period, how long you have to solve this problem, and the place, where does problem solving happen? M is materials. It's about what are the tools of problem solving that you will integrate, whether they're virtual tools or physical items like Post-it notes and crayons and tapes and prototyping materials and the likes. And then E, experience, is what actually happens. What are the sequence of questions or activities that you do, in what order and for how long?
Amazing. So in this amazing, again, I hesitate to even use the word read, but the Game of Innovation, again, conquer challenges, level up your team, and play to win, following the game structure that we just heard about from the amazing creator, that's David Cutler. And David continues our conversation with us here today. David, there's a lot of different parts, part A, part B, part C. And all of these things sort of add up to, and it finally ends in chapter 12 of part C, which is play to win. So walk us through the process.
Well, the first part of the book talks about the game structure, how it's a very flexible structure. It's not dogmatic. You know, sometimes you have an hour to solve a problem. Sometimes you have a week. And so it goes through that. The point is not to come to any conclusions. It's not to suggest the solutions, but to really focus on how to organize a good process. The middle part of the book is about this tool called Great Gaming Goggles. So much of the time when organizations work to solve problems, let's say, here's the problem we face. What should we do? Someone suggests a solution. Someone else loves it. Someone hates it. Someone says, we did that 10 years ago. Someone else says, yeah, we should make a choice to do that. Those are all essential parts of the problem-solving process, but not at the same time. That's the key to working effectively with teams. So in this part of the book, we go through 5 lenses of innovation. Each one pairs a color with another word that starts with the same letter, explains what that innovation lens is, and gives a whole bunch of activities about how to utilize that. And the last part of the book is about really working through that process. There's a chapter on facilitating with teams and maximizing that process. There's one on building happy teams and how to get people to work together. And then a final chapter called Getting to Wow.
Oh, wow. Amazing. So again, I'm chatting with David Cutler, who has created the Game of Innovation, a step-by-step approach to designing, leading, and managing innovation games. It's packed with engaging, actionable strategies where you can learn to build powerhouse problem-solving experiences with a flexible game framework, tack each part of the process, overcoming common obstacles to collaboration and streamlined thinking when employing the 5 lenses of innovation. Finally, arriving at the remarkable. We're going to continue our conversation with David Cutler. I know David and his amazing colleagues at the Puzzler company are facilitating all sorts of great experiences. We're going to continue the conversation when we return in just a moment on Get Down to Business. Welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. I'm chatting with David Cutler, who, together with an amazing team of collaborators, have developed the Game of Innovation. And David is, in addition to being the founder and CEO of the Puzzler company, which we're going to talk about in a moment, he's also an award-winning multi-genre musician and Yamaha master educator. Fascinating background. So, David, welcome back.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, David, we've been chatting about the Game of Innovation, but I want to talk about the Puzzler company because you and your colleagues are facilitating all over the world, speaking all over the world, and all sorts of interesting programs to help teamwork. David, who's the right fit? Who's too big? Who's too small? Tell us a little bit about your client base.
We work with all kinds of organizations, from small mom and pop businesses up into huge corporations. The important thing is that they want to solve problems creatively and to do it with teams. So we are pretty problem agnostic. We work with all kinds of challenges. We are experts in the process. And sometimes it's so fascinating to just work with the leadership to help them figure out what exactly is the problem? How do we articulate it in a way that is clear to all of our stakeholders, and to come up with a problem that can even be solvable in a very important way in the amount of time that we have?
Amazing. So without going into breaking any confidentiality, any interesting sort of highlights that you want to share with our listeners of a amazing success where you've been able to innovate, where just sort of the structure, the recipe, if you will, has been sort of set for success?
Oftentimes we'll be called in to focus on kind of workplace culture. How do we make this a place that people want to be at? If there's a high turnover rate and the likes. We've done a lot of work in the education realm and trying to reimagine what curriculum can be and how do we teach instead of topics? How can we teach students and focus on emboldening communities? So it's really all over the board.
Awesome. Well, again, I'm chatting with David Cutler. David is speaker, author, consultant, and facilitator. And David, obviously want to make sure that our listeners know how they can work with you and your colleagues at the Puzzler company. But, we're having this conversation in early 2022. Has COVID and just sort of this transition into this virtual workspace, how has that impacted your facilitation efforts? Well,
it's been interesting to, work online. I I think so much of the time with platforms like Zoom, many organizations take almost the least interesting things of the in-person experience and keep that while they lose the most interesting aspects, right? The kind of lecture format that so often dominates many meeting spaces. We've really been trying to lean into this technology and figure out what can this do better than being in person. I'm thinking of a game we played right now, which was a 6-hour event. And I know people afterwards were talking to their colleagues and, well, what did you do today? Oh, I just got off a 6-hour Zoom call. And people say, what, are you crazy? How is that? We're like, it was amazing. But we really tried to own this space and own this experience and make Zoom or other platforms work within a culture that's trying to solve creative problems.
Well, I've certainly learned a lot in our conversation. David, I want to make sure we can get in touch with the Puzzler Company and learn more about the game of innovation. How can we get in touch?
Best way to do that is through our website, www.thepuzzlercompany.com. And if you put a /book after that, you can hear more about the game of innovation.
Fantastic, David Cutler. Thank you so much for joining us on Get Down to Business. Certainly looking forward to staying in touch because I have a feeling there's a lot more where the game of innovation is coming from. So appreciate you joining us. That's a wrap for us here on the show, all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. We'll be back next Sunday with another jam-packed lineup of amazing guests, entrepreneurs, people making a difference in the community. But until then, get on my website, shalomklein.com, and be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share this show on your favorite podcast app. Again, my website, shalomklein.com. To success. Let's get down to business. We'll talk to you next Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on AM 560 The Answer.